Joe Mazzulla is not just getting outcoached, which we all expect. I mean, it's Eric Spoelstra, but he just seems like not necessarily built for the moment quite often in this series. But I think actually during the playoffs, number one, gets bothered by some of the most mundane questions coming from Jared Weiss in the post-game press conference and Jay King. I mean, these are just basic questions for a coach. I mean, you can see him getting perturbed, but his post-game comments after game 3, Jay, I'm going to ask you first because you know this team better than anybody. Joe Mazzulla says, I just didn't have them ready to play. Whatever it was, whether it was a starting lineup or an adjustment, I have to get them in a better place, ready to play, and that's on me. And then he was asked if he felt like he was lost the locker room, but also if there was a disconnect, which is what I think he was responding to here.
Well, the question was, it started like, I don't want to say you've lost the locker. So it was specific, right, like, exactly. I don't want to say you lost the locker.
And I think that he was responding, was there a disconnect? And he says, yes, it's why I need to be better to figure out what this team needs. And I mean, look, man, if you got a disconnect in the conference finals, it seems like it's a wrap. I mean, it's a wrap anyway. They're down 3-0, but this is a bad time to be disconnected, obviously. But they've been, as Mo just pointed out, they've sort of been disconnected all year, I think, at the end of games and whatnot, Jay. It's not like they don't have good habits to fall back on.
I don't know if that's entirely fair. They went 24-13 in crunch time games. Their offense got infinitely better under Mazzulla. My take on his answer to that question was basically like, we just lost a must-win game 128-102. Obviously, there's a disconnect here, guys. Like, right. They're not doing what I'm telling them to out there. I don't think he was necessarily saying these guys don't listen to me anymore. It was they didn't execute the game plan the way they needed to. My biggest this is something I've kind of thought all year, and Joe leaned into offense all year long. And in the same way Ime Udoka always favored size, favored physicality, Joe went small. Joe went toward guard lineups. Joe knew that their offense wasn't good enough last season to win a championship and focused on the offensive execution basically all season, at least publicly facing. And to me, no matter what happened last year, they always had an incredible defense to fall back on. And this year, with lineup choices, benching Grant Williams, getting away from the amount of size and physicality they had, rarely ever playing Al Horford and Robert Williams until they needed that group to save them in the Philadelphia series, just felt like they got away from what should have been their identity. And he thought that their identity was offensive, and that has totally gone away this year, this series. The Heat have been able to take away Boston's threes. They haven't been able to generate as many threes as they normally do. They haven't been able to make any threes. They're shooting 29.2% in this series.
That's the series right there, Jay.
As you look back at the whole series, at the whole season, that to me is Mazzulla's mistake. And maybe I'm just saying that because the season is ending like this, and their defense is getting shredded while their offense, which they spent the whole season working on and focusing on, has just disappeared anyway. But last year, when they threw turnovers, when they shot poorly, they always had a chance because their defense was going to shut teams down. And this year, from the start, Mazzulla's focus was on the offense. And I just felt like their defense still had good numbers during the regular season. It still had, but you could tell something was missing. They never had the zip they did before. They never just absolutely like demoralized teams with their defense like they used to be able to. And that's what I think cost them in this series more than anything, is that like they didn't have another option when the threes stopped falling. They didn't have that defense to fall back on. And so you could complain about whatever you want with Mazzulla, but to me, that's the biggest failure, is that what he spent focusing the whole year on went away, and what I don't want to say ignored, because obviously defense was part of what they worked on a lot, but what he lowered on his priorities is what no longer just dominates the way it used to. And that's to me what I think he'll probably regret about the way he approached this season, is that somewhere along the way, by focusing as much as he did on offensive execution, by focusing as much as he did on offensive lineup choices, he lost what made the Celtics great.
Feels accurate.
He wasn't ready for the job. I'm gonna throw it out there. Hardy out in Utah, Damon Stoudemire, Georgia Tech. You know what I mean? Ime obviously out, and then you get this huge promotion from the back, and you all right, cool. The Celtics are a good team. It's not like plug and play, and you can kind of just make it work. You can mask it to so long, but once you get to the postseason, you got to coach, and it's showing. I mean, he should be watching something more than the town 4 times a week. I'm gonna be honest.
I don't know. The town's really good.
Well, that was an exaggeration to everyone.
But I mean, hey, look, I'm just using that as a punch.
Yeah.
But if at the end of the day, it's being evident, you know, whether he lost locker room or not, or making adjustments. Spo is coaching circles around this dude. And just to make this even sweeter, Jimmy Butler put him out of the conference tourney when they played in college. So there's some type of connection in this. Yeah, man. So it's just so much, you know what I mean? Like, it's been a fun series, probably not for the Boston fans,
Right.
but just overall, you know what I mean? As far as just looking at this and kind of peeling back the layers on the onion style. So I don't see them getting a win. I mean, I'm shocked, but I think this is over. I think a lot of guys have already mentally checked out. I think they're going to try to mask it as well as possible and give their first 24 minutes of it. And then from there, you know, Cancun on 3.